What's up, nerds? Welcome to episode 16 of The Bandwagon Fan. This is the show where we talk all things pop culture and what we're into right now. I'm Alex.
I'm AJ.
And I'm Josh.
And I'm Kate.
And this week is a special spotlight episode on the new dun 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 Batman film. Let's get into it. I thought I could really nail that intro.
You did. We did it. We got it.
Yeah, no, I meant like with the theme song, but you picked the better Batman part of the theme song.
Well, that's the only memorable one I can think of, and then they just stopped doing it. They just stopped doing it.
Even though Prince Batman, Prince affiliated with Batman, easily the coolest thing.
When Christopher Nolan does his movies, his sound effects are just these like these weird sounds.
And then everyone else
just bass farts.
I kind of missed that though.
You missed the Christopher Nolan bass farts?
I like Christopher Nolan's bass farts.
I mean, they're very cinematic, but it's just like it's weird that we've gone so much away from like happy music in these superhero movies, and now they're just like very ominous and very dark. But hey, it is what it is.
I feel like gritty is in, and I think we'll go over that more as we talk about this movie because I felt very gritty.
Speaking of gritty, hardcore warning: if you are listening to this episode, you will experience all of the spoilers, tons of spoilers, eons of spoilers. This is the time. This is the time to pause and quickly watch a 3-hour film and then jump right back in.
Yeah, for those who don't know, we're talking about Matt Reeves is the Batman. Reeves is? What's the plural possession? Reeves.
Maybe
whatever.
It's like Reese's. It's Reevesies.
I've heard it both ways.
I'm going to go with Reeves, but yeah, I don't know. Reeves.
Matt Reeves, the Batman.
Matt Reeves. It is Reese Batman.
His Reese's Pieces.
I think before we really like jump in, I think we need to start with the ultimate thing. Who liked it and who didn't like it? We can save all of our reasons for the end. You know what?
Go first?
Josh, I'm going to put all the pressure on you first.
Well, in that case, I liked it. And that's all I'm going to say. If you want to know why I liked it or how much I liked it, you're going to have to keep listening. I'm
going to say I unnecessarily loved it. I loved it more than I thought I would love it.
After seeing it twice forcefully, I liked it.
I like that you had to throw in forcefully, like someone kidnapped you and made you watch Batman twice.
Well, yes, I did it for the pod. If it wasn't for the podcast, I would have never watched the movie twice.
Respect.
Okay, and I'll go last. I did not like it.
Whoa!
I did not hate it. I didn't hate it. I didn't like it, and you will find out why.
Kate, next time you come in with these hot takes, give us a warning, all right? So we can duck.
No, I wanted it fresh for the listeners.
Yeah, I didn't realize this was a hot sauce challenge. I'm not ready for this.
Damn, son. Well, yeah. So this movie was directed by Matt Reeves. Whatever. He directed Planet of the Apes, the good ones, right? Did he do all three? Did he do all three Planet
I believe he did of the reboot, not the Michael Jackson reboot.
Not the Michael Jackson.
What?
But I love his take on Planet of the Apes. If you guys have not seen that, we might actually do a spotlight on that because very underrated trilogy. Just throwing that out there. Very, very underrated trilogy.
Although the first one was the best, and I thought they went a little downhill.
False. The third one was the best. The third one was the best.
For the spotlight on
my
the
battle.
I will fight you. The third one was the best one.
But Reeves is a good director, is I think what we're trying to get at.
Yeah. He did the Cloverfield movies, really?
He did the original Cloverfield, and then it was J.J. Abrams, and then some garbage Netflix.
Yeah,
they're both J.J. Abrams and Matt Reeves, by the way, are both Bad Robot guys. That's a production company.
Yeah, that's
Reeves is from Bad Robot.
He's a Bad Robot. I don't know if he co-owns or if he's part of that collective, but I was reading a review that he's from that group of directors and producers.
That's cool.
Okay, that's cool. That makes me feel better. This movie had, I think, a heavy hitting cast of actors and actresses. Robert Pattinson
Robert Sparkle Pattinson.
Yeah, the Sparkle King. I think
Rob
we can drop the
Pattinson.
Sparkle though. Yeah, Rob Pattinson.
After The Lighthouse, he earned his keep as an excellent actor, in my opinion.
As just having a normal name and no more Twilight follow.
Name. Right. The always beautiful Zoe Kravitz. I was joking that, when I was a kid, I used to have a big crush on Lisa Bonet. And so, Zoe Kravitz looks so much like her mother. It's really nuts. But,
wait, isn't that a J. Cole lyric? I swear there's something with him having a crush on.
No, that's yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
I don't know. The second you heard that, like the line just got stuck in my head, but I can't remember what song it is.
He's talking about Lisa Bonet. He's talking about Nia Long. Yeah, that's true. Also Paul Dano. And the most shocking actor in this movie, I didn't realize who played the Penguin. Did you guys realize who the Penguin was?
Yeah, I knew going into it.
No, not until I watched
the trailer. I was like, hold up.
I was like, dude, Colin Farrell looks so different.
Yeah. I didn't know until the credits rolled, and I was like, who did Colin Farrell play? Because he's so, I feel like, recognizable usually as either the really hot guy or this kind of sleazy Irish guy or gangster. But I'm like, oh my God, wow.
Yeah.
He was on Hot Ones. I don't know if you guys saw that.
No.
He talked about the role and how all the prosthetic, the makeup stuff. I think it took 3 hours the first time and then 2 hours going forward, and how sometimes wearing that can be very limiting, but in this case it helped him get into the character even more and feel free.
That's cool.
It looked
a lot of horror
amazing.
Stories about makeup prosthetics,
right?
Yeah, especially the Grinch. I'm pretty sure Jim Carrey had a bunch of nightmares or was taking 10 hours or something to get into that outfit every day,
into the mask outfit.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and then the other, I guess you could say, actors of note are Jeffrey Wright and Andy Serkis. Those are two other big actors. So, needless to say, there's a lot of acting chops being thrown on the floor here. I know that I think everyone kind of was holding their breath throughout the production of this film because this was all done. I believe the whole thing was done during COVID, right?
Almost all. I think the first month they filmed without COVID, but even before that, it was nuts. It was the first major movie to 90% be completely done during COVID, but then also Ben Affleck was supposed to star in it, and then he was supposed to not star, and he was supposed to just direct it, and then it went from him doing neither, and then it went. I think originally Matt Reeves was supposed to just kind of take his script and change it a little, and then he was just I'm going to start from scratch and basically redo the entire thing. So it's kind of a nightmare of a production, which blows my mind that this movie not only was made how it was, but also it was filmed in so many locations. When you watch the credit scenes, it's New Zealand, Chicago. I think
really,
I think Bangkok was in there. There are tons and tons of cities, and I'm they had to do this during COVID.
What could have been Bangkok of all those scenes? I can't think of a single Gotham scene that gave me Bangkok vibes.
Maybe the well, we'll get into it. Maybe the street chases. Maybe to a degree, that's one area I can think of.
But I can't even believe they managed to do that during the time. I saw Robert Pattinson was saying at one point Matt Reeves was basically wearing scuba gear and was to come in and direct, and all the rest of the members were hidden from sight, and there was drone cameras being operated, so he was by himself half the time, and I don't know, it's just I don't see that when you see the final production, and I'm that's just crazy. It's crazy that this came out.
For the record, I think I said this before, but I was always interested and still am interested in a Ben Affleck directed Batman. I think a lot of people don't know that Ben Affleck is a really good writer and he's a really good director. And I think the most recent movies that he was able to direct were The Town, came out 2010, and Argo. But I think when he's given the option to both write and direct, that he's shown that he can make some pretty solid movies.
I agree. So, I saw he dropped for unfortunate reasons, though. Apparently there was a lot of mental health type of issues that he was going through. Yeah. I didn't know that until I read into that recently.
I wonder if that has to do with that meme of him smoking outside and looking stressed as fuck.
That's
he
also
also has,
Batman, though.
If you guys don't know, if anyone's listening to this and you're curious, Ben Affleck has a horrible back tattoo. I've never seen a tattoo like you. Like I think it's more shocking.
It's not what I was expecting you to say. I don't know.
Either,
yeah. I think it's more shocking because it's Ben Affleck specifically, but he has this giant, like, multicolored. I think it's supposed to be a phoenix on his back. It like spans over the entirety of his back, and it's not
bad.
A nice tattoo. It's not a good tattoo.
Oh, it's bad.
Big yikes, man.
So if you're curious, Google it because it's pretty funny. It's pretty funny.
If you mixed a phoenix with like a full-grown Charizard from Pokemon.
See, I was thinking a phoenix
and a chicken. That sounds epic.
It looks like a chicken. It looks like a chicken. It just doesn't
like
look
good.
What
about like a chocobo? Like the way you're describing it here, I get chocobo vibes.
You just gotta look it up. It's pretty wild that Ben Affleck has look. I think sometimes we forget that actors are just people. So, he likes this, and I'm happy that he likes his tattoo, but I don't like his tattoo. So there's that. But yeah.
And all that to say, he is not in this movie.
Yeah, I know. Well, he should have been, though. He should have been in the movie, but it's fine.
All that to say, he should have been smoking outside.
He's played Batman before, though, so he has that
connection.
Technically speaking, he still is Batman. Like, we never had like a ceremonious, like, you're not Batman anymore or whatever. He still exists in another universe or Earth 2 or whatever.
Isn't this technically Earth 1? This
I have
Batman?
No idea. I have no clue. I don't know where this is.
I can try to confirm it.
I don't know.
I think they said it was Earth 1, which I honestly don't even know what that means.
Doesn't one Earth get like destroyed or whatever? So they gotta jump ship or something.
I think Earth
I don't know.
2 gets destroyed.
Okay,
I think that's the one where Val Zod or whatever his name is from, the Black Superman.
Yeah. Wait, black as in like dark, or black as in like he's black?
Like he's a black man.
Oh, okay.
He's also the president.
Well, okay. So he's just like he's a twofer. Yeah. Oh, he's a threefer actually. He's a superhero. He's black and the president. Yeah. And stakes couldn't be higher for him. And don't mess up Black Superman.
More. He's also I don't know if he's just part of, but I think he's the leader of the Justice League Incarnate, which is like the multiverse Justice League.
Oh man!
So we have Earth 1 and multiverse. This is confusing to me.
I'm talking about the comics. We're going on a deep rabbit hole right now.
That's dangerous because he makes a mistake. We'll never get a black Superman ever again, and a black president, and a black leader of the Justice League. Like a lot is riding on that guy.
This, my friends, is why comic culture can be extremely intimidating because of just black holes like this.
So much to keep track of.
So wait, this is Earth 1, right?
Let's just say it's Earth 1. There could be someone that can come yell at us later, but I'm gonna go with Earth 1.
Tell us if we're wrong. But yeah,
so where do we start?
Let's start at the beginning.
All right.
The intro is very reminiscent of a comic called The Long Halloween. I think Alex, you've read it.
Yeah, it's such a good issue. Is it Frank Miller? I feel like I'm gonna butcher that right now.
Oh wow, I actually can't think of who it is right now. But the AJ, have you read it?
No.
All right. So the premise of this one is there's a serial killer who kills on major holidays, and then there's like usually some kind of theme related to that. And so this first kill that we see is on Halloween. And what also was really cool was how much, like, this is basically the Zodiac killer. I don't know if you three are familiar with his MO.
Mm-hmm. Or if you've seen the movie. It felt very much like the Zodiac movie.
Yeah.
That kind of theme, if you remember that one.
The mask, the fact that he wears glasses with a mask, and that crosshair type of symbol. And then also the way that, as we see the use of letters in the media, very much basically the Zodiac killer.
Yeah, I definitely see that. Also, I want to confirm real quick, it's not Frank Miller. I don't even know how to say his name. Jeff
Lemire.
No, Jeff Loeb.
Oh, Jeff Loeb.
Loeb. Would you say that's Loeb?
Loeb.
Yeah, you're right.
Loeb.
My bad. I don't know why I said Lemire.
The Zodiac killer did the same thing where he taunted his, the police basically. He taunted them and mocked them, basically.
And clues, right? Weird clues.
Yeah, giving clues. Psychologically, there was like an idea that, like, did he want to be caught? Why is he taunting the police? So, this movie had the same theme.
And like right away, it's just the tone of the fact that this is like a crime noir type of movie. Yeah. It's not your typical punch, joke, action moment, type of thing.
I saw someone also say online that this movie was taking Batman back to his detective roots of he's not just flying through the air, punching bad guys, like you said. He's also really smart and able to look at things. And he walked into the room in the beginning of the first kind of crime, the first victim. It's like Batman's instantly just analyzing everything. And I think a lot of the movies and comics don't really show the detective side of him, more just the I'm a superhero and I have special abilities.
The detective series.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
there's a whole standalone series just called Detective. Is it Detective Comic? I forgot.
Yeah, I don't think he's in it right now, though.
See,
I haven't honestly read them in a long time, but that's like one of those where you could look and you're like, oh, issue 1780. You're like, this is just too much.
Yeah.
Well, but it's never been like the main ones.
I like the detective element because I feel like it gives actual weight to the conflict. I feel like when there's just action in a regular superhero movie, like, there's like a sequel, there is more Batman or whatever. So there's no weight to him fighting, right? There's not a lot of weight to the conflicts that happen. Whereas in the detective one, like, we as the audience, we're able to be engaged in something a little bit more thought-provoking than just Batman punch that guy go down. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and it highlights his intellect. Like, there's this always going to be this argument of like Batman can beat anybody if he has prep time because he's so smart and whatnot. It's a very tiresome argument, but like, it is supported by the fact that he's very smart, very observant, and very tactical, and you get to see that. I mean, this is his second year of doing this.
Right.
And so he's still learning, he's making mistakes, which I think it was a good thing to see. But you also see, like, he's a smart man.
So where does this movie start us off?
This is year 2 of him being Batman. And we start out with that kill scene of the Riddler killing the mayor who is up for re-election. And again, very Zodiac style, but you can see there is a more ideological motive behind this rather than the Zodiac just wanted attention.
Just wanted attention, yeah.
Right. Like, it's a little bit more nuanced.
You can make an argument that as a whole, the Riddler also is looking for attention.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, you can make that argument. And it's in this scene, in the first scene, the Riddler, first of all, jump scare in the beginning of the movie.
Yes,
I was not expecting this.
I loved seeing his, like, was it the white eyes? Right?
The reflection on his glasses.
That was
he
cool.
pops up and he's like, "Sup?" And then he kills the mayor, and one takeaway from this movie that I felt like kind of hampered what it really could have been is the fact that I'm sure Warner Brothers asked Matt Reeves to make this PG-13. I feel like if this was rated R, the visceral nature of some of the killings, I think would have painted like a more realistic and bleak picture.
Yeah.
Because
I thought it was R going in, to be honest.
Me too. I did too.
I never looked at the rating.
I totally did too. And I feel like that first scene is a good symbol of, or a good representation of why that would have been. He duct taped his head, right? I think.
Yeah.
Duct taped his head, and like, I think he bludgeoned him, right?
Yeah, hit him in the head, and then he duct taped him, and then
he's a little fetishy when he does his kills too.
Yeah, like he romanticizes them a little in a weird way. And so like, the reason why I feel like if it was rated R, it would have been a little bit more visceral is because Batman shows up, Gordon tells him, this is the crime scene, there's a letter for you. And Batman opens the letter. It's a card with a riddle from the Riddler, right? And it gives, and I think it had a cipher in it as well. But it basically is titillating Jim Gordon, who isn't commissioner at this point. He's just a detective, and Batman trying to start the game, start the chase, if you will. And I think why, if the movie was a little bit more graphic, is because and we'll talk about this as we go along, but Batman has a lot of revelations in this movie. And the very first revelation that we're introduced to is that the mayor's son is there, assumingly witnessed this whole horrific murder.
I think he found the body. I don't think he
at least found the body.
Yeah.
Or like in other words, like, but he witnessed the death of his father, you could see because the blood, he was there when the blood was still running. So it's like that's a pretty like graphic thing for a kid to see.
And that's important too, because it's supposed to, I think, hit back to the fact that the same exact thing happened to Batman as a kid. His father, we find out, was the mayor, and he also found his parents dead. But
yeah, I mean,
he was going to run for mayor. That comes up later. But But to backtrack real quick, our first glimpse of Batman, like you hear him narrating before we get that crime scene situation, and it's very much taken from Batman Ego, where Batman's narrating his time of fighting crime, and he talks about like I've become a nocturnal animal. And it's just like really dark, like you can tell he's like a very depressed, broken, angry person, and you also see these scenes of people committing crimes, and he's talking about how he has weaponized fear. And like the camera work was beautiful for this because it pans over, like you start to zoom in on these shadows, expecting Batman to just like jump out, and he's not even there.
Right.
Like the criminals think he is.
Yeah, I love that. It's like a mind game.
The other thing I think you that you didn't bring up about the narration is that in the beginning of this movie, he basically tells you where his motives are, right? And he says, "I am vengeance."
He's very angry.
Yeah,
and
very
I'll be honest, it was a cool line, but I actually found that so corny when he said that.
Like, it served a purpose, though.
I know, but
it served a purpose. Cheesy. We'll talk about later. Yeah, I get it, but it does serve a purpose that is hard to show in a movie, even though the movie's 3 hours long. Yeah. So the following scene after the crime scene, what happens after that scene?
Well, we still have. Well, I was gonna go back to like when we finally do see Batman. Like he's on that train platform.
Yeah,
because that happens before the crime scene, right?
That happens before the crime scene.
He sees the bat signal. So again, like you're zooming in on the shadows. You're like, is he going to show up? And you hear these footsteps, really loud boots, and that kind of carries out throughout the movie, where you hear Batman before you see him.
You see him, yeah.
Which is interesting because it's like a mix of stealth and intimidation, which is like a trademark of Batman. And then it also is like watching a horror movie, but from the killer's perspective. Like he's stalking these people, intimidating them.
He's hunting his prey.
And then we see him fight, and it's pure brutality. He like tases a guy, he beats them up with their own weapons, like he messes these guys up. Then he sees the bat signal, and he takes off to go to the crime scene.
I mean it's just showing you his tone, his mentality.
Yeah, it kind of shows to me it's like, I don't know, Batman's like the perfect anti-hero to me, because it's always like that. It's always like that thing. It's like they're not dead, but they're basically dead. Like it's always like he's always pretty much fully killed them, and you're like, where's the line draw between like not killing your victims and leaving them in a wheelchair for the rest of their lives, or a vegetable state.
Right.
But, like what was cool, like you have the narration and you see him fighting, and like when you look into that, it's revealing of how like he's a traumatized, depressed person. He's like a hermit basically, and I'm not a mental health professional, but I know enough to see that his trauma, his anger has become so internalized that he's angry that he wasn't able to stop what happened. That's why he, is at his peak level of physical performance. He's trained his mind, and he's taking out that anger by beating up criminals. And it's cool to see that like psychological glimpse into like who Batman is.
Yeah, no, totally. It's I don't know. I always think of like my favorite Batman comics, and I think of like Long Halloween, Killing Joke, Hush, and like I feel like they all kind of have like this side of Batman, like, and it's my favorite kind. Because I know like the tech side of Batman is cool, but I love the stocky, shadowy, vengeance Batman.
Yeah,
I think they'll always be my favorite one.
Yeah, like it was pretty like relatively low tech, and I think like the highest tech thing he had was those contact lenses, which comes into play later. In a pretty cool way. And also like it kind of explains like why he walks around so slowly. He's not just trying to look cool. He's probably recording stuff to look at it later.
Yeah, isn't that the following scene actually? After we see the contact lens, we actually meet Alfred. I think, right?
Yeah, I think he's going over his
Batman
footage.
Batman comes back to the back rib, and he's going over, and that's the first time I think we get a sense of where his state of mind is. Alfred kind of tells him, like, you haven't been out in public as Bruce Wayne. You're not being part of society, and it's important because your parents valued that. And he's like, nah, I'm doing the work that I need to do in the streets, fighting crime. And you kind of just see the dynamic between Batman and Alfred in this scene. Batman says a very teenage, angsty thing. He's like, "You're not my dad." And
plus Batman needs to sleep in,
Yeah, he needs to sleep in.
He's out all night.
But you can see the hurt in both of them. You know what I mean? When he says that, Alfred knows he's not his dad, and he was never trying to be his father, but he still loves him, and like it was his own son. And I think at this point, Batman is just so hyper focused on fighting crime, making Gotham a better place by taking out the filth, quote unquote, that kind of thing, that he's losing. You can see that he's losing the big picture. And I think that's what Alfred is trying to remind him in that scene. And then also, I think the other thing about this scene that was cool is that, you see that this is like, I don't want to say a low tech Batman, because he's still using something as cool as like, camera contacts. But this is a very simplified Batman.
Let's say it's not gadget focused. Like,
it's not gadget focused.
Matt Reeves didn't need to show that.
Very practical.
A belt full of gadgets all around his waist.
Or he doesn't have Lucius being like, "I've invented for you the Matrix." He's like, "Check this out. We can find anyone with a phone." Like, it's not as like sci-fi complex. It's just very simple, just very like detective based. So really, that's what it is.
Yeah.
All his tools either are for survival or detective based.
Mm-hmm.
His main tool is his mind.
His main tool is his mind. That's right.
He starts to figure out. So we find out the Riddler has all these different puzzles that he's creating, and it's kind of like every puzzle leads one step to the next. To
right. So the puzzle that they figure out is that there is a clue in the parking garage. He calls his good friend Jim Gordon. They go down to the parking garage and they see the mayor's car. It's this was actually kind of funny. I actually laughed in the theater and no one else did, but I did think it was funny when he's like, "What are you looking for?" And Batman's like, "I'm looking for a USB slot." And then he pulls out the thumb drive and it has the mayor's thumb attached to the foot.
The theater I was in, everyone was laughing too. But mine was fully packed, and I think everyone was a little drunk because they were just laughing at
everything. I was the only one that laughed at that scene, so I felt bad. I was like, "Oh no!"
There were a lot of moments like this. There were a lot of moments where like this is funny, humor. But no one else is laughing, so I'm going to keep this to myself.
Yeah. I thought that was funny.
Gordon always calls him man. He's like, "Hey man, hey man,
hey man." Yeah. So any thoughts on that scene? That was a pretty straightforward scene. It kind of just gives us into like a little insight of like how thorough the Riddler has been.
Yeah.
In building this puzzle.
One thing I liked with it is the Riddler's always been, I think, sometimes more dark and twisted than the Joker, depending on like what round it is. But he also has like this goopy, quirky, like the Jim Carrey side, and I think that kind of showed like, hey, I'm messed up and I'm scary, but also like I'm a little cheesy at the same time, and
it's a game.
I think it was cool.
Right?
Yeah, Gordon says that. When he sees them, he's like, "This guy's hilarious."
Yeah, it's a game. That's the thing. It's a game to the Riddler. You know what I mean? It's like another DC comic, The Watchmen, right? It's like the opposite of like what the comedian is, right? The comedian, everything is a joke to him. Everything's a game to him. So he doesn't give anything. It's like it's reverence. It's just all a joke. It doesn't matter. So it's like the opposite with the Riddler, that everything's a game and it's a game for a purpose. So at the end of this scene, sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say, like, then we get those photos from the hard drive.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, the Riddler planned this out. It sends them to all the media, and it continues like it's like this cat and mouse game of these puzzles, and so we get to see the cat.
Yeah,
and
the photos contain pictures of the mayor and a young lady who looks like she's been roughed up a little bit. And these next scenes are kind of where like the rated PG-13 comes into play, because they don't actually say the words. They just really heavily infer that like, hey, the mayor was cheating with a Russian hooker, that kind of thing. So like, or a sex slave, really, or if you want to, depending on which way you want to look at it. So
and
they don't really.
That is probably where all the drugs are coming in and out of the city.
Iceberg Lounge.
The fact that they call the drugs drops. They don't. Do they actually ever use the word drugs in the movie?
Nope, they call them drop heads.
They call them drop heads, and so like that's just another example. I'm like, oh, so they're like addicted to contact cleaner. Like, I don't know. I thought there was going to be a whole thing with it too, because Batman had the contact camera, but that never came to fruition. So that's fine.
So Batman goes to the Iceberg Lounge, which is famously Penguin's hideout in the comics.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, I didn't know.
Eventually, when
Iceberg
Penguin
had something to do with like Antarctica penguins.
Me too. I didn't know that.
Penguin, it's the Penguin Lounge. It's not a lettuce factory.
Because the Penguin's starting out in this one. Like, he's a lower tier criminal.
Yeah,
right now.
Yeah. He's under. What's it? Falcone. Yeah. He's under him. So.
Batman fights his way through there. Again, he's harpooning guys. He's breaking people's noses. Beats up a cop.
Great scene. Yeah.
Really cool scene. And then the Penguin shows up. Colin Farrell does not look like him. And
but he did a great job.
He played this character beautifully, man.
He does.
Like real like New York gangster. One of my favorite things he says, he's like, I'm a proprietor. He's like, I don't know what goes on in here. I just provide things.
I just provide things. Yeah. And I also like how at the same time he's not the bad guy, if that makes any sense. Like, something that I don't like about superhero movies sometimes is that like we know a villain is a villain, and then like we just expect nothing good for them. But for the most part, I mean, the Penguin was pretty harmless in this movie, right? We don't see what we come to know as the villain yet as the Penguin. So
it's
I
a pretty
that
slow progression.
Your very standard mobster. Like he understands like there's a nuance. I have to like be legitimate in some ways. I can't just go, cartel hacking heads off and being cruel to everyone. But it's under there.
He's like a mobster too, in that he's like, well, sorry, I can't help you, Batman. I don't know who that girl is, the hooker, which is then how. But we get there's a look on, because Catwoman or Zoe Kravitz's character comes in. She's serving drinks. She's just a call girl, whatever. But she reacts when Batman mentions it. And Batman, again, being a detective, takes note, follows her home.
So
there's this for other reasons too, but
I was gonna bring that up. A really funny episode in How I Met Your Mother is when they talk about like there's like a really fine line between like when someone's like really sweet and when someone's being really creepy. I feel like Batman like really is towing that line when he just follows her to her home. And
borderline peeping Tom. Like,
okay, yes, exactly. That was, again, I laughed in the movie when he's like watching her get dressed. I'm like, Batman, what part of the investigation is this? This is not part of the investigation, man. He's like watching her put on her pants.
He just wants to compare how she gets her suit on. He's like, maybe she has a better way to slip into that skin tight thing,
I laughed in the theater. No one else laughed, but I just thought that was funny. Batman's like, oh,
I was with two girlfriends and we both were like, what is he doing? He needs to look away. What, Batman?
Yeah, he was looking a little longer than he should have been looking.
But he also like it kind of lends itself to the fact that he's socially awkward, either because he has shut himself in from society, and or because in Batman and the Imposter there was the idea that he might be somewhere on the spectrum.
Yeah,
but he also just might have trouble with some of those social norms.
Well, I didn't look at it like that. I just felt that like he doesn't talk to anyone, and you can presume that he has spent his whole life secluding himself. So he's just awkward. He's just awkward.
Yeah.
I think he's just kind of a freak.
Well, and like,
I mean, he might be. Yeah,
he wasn't typically. It's like Bruce Wayne's the cool emo kid. He was the weird socially awkward emo kid in this one, and
this was definitely like the trench coat guy who only listened to black metal and played World of Warcraft.
Right.
And listen to Nirvana, because there was some good Nirvana stuff in this.
Nirvana is great. I have no problems with that. But yeah, so in this scene, Batman follows Selina. He sees that she knows the Russian girl that the mayor may have known. He's trying to figure out how can I talk to her, the Russian girl that is, so that he can try to find out what she knows. Selina leaves, and he follows her, and she's back at the mayor's house, cracking the safe. So this is where we see her Catwoman side.
Which was a cool scene. Yeah,
it was a great scene. Yeah, she snuck in there.
She's so slick.
She steals a passport, and they have this the sexual tension in the scene was palpable when her and Batman are then fighting, and they're on top of each other. Batman is interrogating her, but they're also
it's very much like a dance.
Yeah, like a dance. That's a really good way to put it. They're dancing, fighting, and
I wanted to see more of that. Really,
me too. Yeah. I did too. Actually, I thought that was cool. I kind of like this idea that they're not like they may have feelings for each other, but at the end of the day, they know that those feelings they may not be based on anything more tangible than just being there for each other. I think that's an interesting dynamic. You don't have to plenty of times you don't love someone who you're attracted to. So I think that's what plays into that.
And there's that moment where somebody comes in, one of the cops is patrolling, and he grabs her and holds her against the wall to keep her quiet.
Yeah.
Again, that tension, man.
And she didn't fight. I mean, it was just it was very intense.
They Zoe Kravitz and Robert Pattinson, if you look at their facial expressions in that scene, they don't do a whole lot. It's very subtle, but you're there is so much
They got
happening.
chemistry. They got chemistry. They definitely have chemistry, which is more than I can say about who played Rachel in the Christopher Nolan Batman. Or I get there was two Rachels.
There was Katie Holmes in the first one, and then it was the Gyllenhaal sister, Jake's sister. Maggie Gyllenhaal.
I liked her more than Katie Holmes, but it wasn't that believable.
Christian Bale had no chemistry with either of those women. Okay, they could have brought in 30 other women in, and there would be no chemistry between them.
Christopher Nolan is bad at having that kind of chemistry in any of his films. I've never had a believable relationship in his films before.
Christian Bale, and the Gyllenhaal sibling, they look like strangers in that movie. But this, I believe that there was actually some tension between Batman interrogates Selina, and he finds out that she knows the girl. Her name is Annika, I think.
Yep, Annika.
And that she was the mayor stole her passport, so she couldn't run away. So she was there to steal the passport. So I guess Batman realizes that this is his opportunity to get inside the Iceberg Lounge. So he then asks, he kind of forces Selina to.
Yeah, he says, you're gonna help me.
Yeah, you're gonna help me. And so they go back to her apartment to find Annika has been taken, and that the apartment's been ransacked. And so they.
Real quick, this is something that actually does happen, the whole passport thing.
Yeah,
and you were saying she's basically a sex slave potentially.
It's basically a sex slave.
Which this sex slave with freedom, real, I guess. This happens in real life. The Russian mob or whatever will bring people over here, and then they keep their passport. They're you're going to work for us to pay off your debt.
Yeah,
plot twist. Surprised. It doesn't happen.
Yeah, it happens all the time. And this is when Selina tells Batman about the club within the club. I think it's called Club 44 Below, something like that.
I think 44 Below.
44 Below,
the real club. The club that everyone wants to be
at.
And she's the ticket.
Club.
She's the ticket to get in. Batman, I don't know why yet he can't get in. Because I was thinking at that point in the movie, I'm why can't he go in as Bruce Wayne? But she's going to be able to get in because she works there. So
I also don't think
he hasn't tried at this point to go in as Bruce Wayne either.
Right?
That's true.
So I
thought it was more along the lines of he doesn't know how it's the social thing. He doesn't know how to sweet talk himself. Christian Bale's Batman would do that, right? Mm-hmm. He would use his charisma to get inside, whereas this Batman, he's kind of a dork. I don't know,
but he's also he's a little arrogant. Where I think he wants to do Batman first over everything, and Bruce Wayne
100%.
So he's not always thinking.
Well, he's very my way. He, Selina tries to do things, and he's like, "No, go here. No, talk to that person. Do this." And
and there was also this moment where she says, "You don't care about what happens to me," and he says, "Look at me."
He doesn't say anything. Yeah.
Well, he says, "Look at me," and you're like, "Oh, they're gonna have this little moment," and he's just looking to see if the camera is in her eye the right way.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, exactly. Which is such a Batman thing to do, by the way. Such a Batman answer.
Which in my head though, I was like, you're inches away from this woman, and you're focused on the camera in her eye.
It's
what's wrong with you, man?
That's a Batman answer. That's a Batman thing to do.
Yeah,
which
Batman's
I mentioned
creepy.
this last week. Like, this lends to the argument: Batman does not have sex because he does not know how to handle women.
Yeah, he doesn't know. He doesn't know how to talk to women.
Yeah, you're saying this is Bat Virgin boy.
It's well, maybe that's why he's so angry too.
It could be, you know. I mean, who knows? The world might end just because. Yeah. Well, he does find love eventually, but I don't know.
There's another meme. Or go ahead, Josh.
Oh no, go! I was gonna move us forward. What about a meme?
Well, I was gonna say there's a meme too about. Have you guys seen the meme where it's like men will literally do blank before doing therapy? That's like I saw a review too that said it's like crime. Batman, Bruce, he'll do anything before therapy.
Yep,
true.
Facts. Therapy is awesome though. Go to therapy.
But now back to the movie, everyone.
Back to the movie. We get to see the club. Oh, and Selina wears a lot of wigs, which is a nod to Batman Year One, where Selina in that one is, I don't know if they ever explicitly say it, but she's a dominatrix. And so she like has the leather outfit and the whips and a lot of wigs. And so when she goes into the club, it's like, it felt like a nod to that. Okay. And again, we get that hard line of PG-13R where the club below is a little seedy, man.
It's definitely a sex club, but they can't say it's a sex club. Selina walks through and she's identifying people. She identifies the DA for Gotham. And then we also learned that the mobster Falcone, they have a relationship. Batman rudely interrogates her and assumes that it's because they've had sex. And she's like, you know what, man, I quit. She takes out her contacts. And now Batman is back to square one. And in the interim, you know, the DA is then abducted by the Riddler, right? And then now the next part of the Riddler's plot is moving forward.
Yeah, and then something else about that whole club scene when she's down there getting intel for him. Like the whole DA's office is down there, so again, it shows the corruption of Gotham.
Yeah, and they're all like pretty drunk, so they're all
high on drops too.
They're like messed up, so they're like open about kind of the things they're doing. And yeah, I were there any police officers in that scene too, or is it just DA?
Yes.
It was the one mustache dude. I can't think of his name now.
We'll just call him Mustache Man.
Yeah, the one Batman punched in the nose. Yeah.
And then something else that really stuck out to me was she needs to make eye contact with these people to identify them. And to me, it was a very good glimpse into how a lot of women feel going into like a club or a bar where guys are just checking you out, like no shame.
Yeah,
and she couldn't do eye contact.
I was just gonna say, I this weekend wanted to actually go out clubbing and dancing. It was like something I just. Friday morning, I was like, I really want to go out tonight. But then I thought about it and I'm like, if I go out, especially if I go out alone, I will get hit on. I could be wearing a plastic bag probably, and I probably will get hit on. Because if you make eye contact with someone, they will take that as an invitation to talk to you, to hit on you, to dance with you. There's basically no winning as a woman going out at night by yourself. Even with your girlfriends.
The best part about that scene is basically that it feels uncomfortable for us, the audience.
Yeah.
So imagine how uncomfortable it must feel for her. Right.
And I hope a lot of men kind of, to be honest, a lot of men are probably too dumb to have figured out what was trying to be said in that scene. But yeah, like you were saying, AJ, we were supposed to be uncomfortable because that is how women feel a lot.
And the second she has to link eyes, the DA guy does come over to her like instantly.
Mm-hmm.
Instantly.
Right.
So guys, don't be creepy. Don't be weird.
What happens to our DA friend who wants to share?
Oh man!
Well, he spills the beans first of all.
He spills the beans. Yeah, he spills the beans. He says that he mentions that the DA that he's been protecting a rat who I guess the rat's in the mob who has been. They use his information to put down the previous mob king Maroni.
Maroni,
who has ties to Batman's father. We'll learn about later. Basically the DA, he leaves the club, the Riddler takes him, he hits him over the head numerous times with, I couldn't tell what it was, but with something.
Yeah.
Knocked him out. And then that's kind of like the last we see. At the same time, Batman is now looking for like the next target, basically. And I think we get like the news report thing was next with the police chief was I think on TV essentially, or the Joker or the Riddler essentially was live streaming or something along those
wasn't
lines.
that where he straps like the collar bomb?
Yeah.
No.
The rats.
Oh, the rats.
The
it
mice.
Was the rats. Which harkened back to
which reminded me of the movie 1984 a little bit, or the book.
That too. Yeah. It just reminded me, the Riddler like took so much inspiration from these Saw movies where they put these people in these horrible things, and the Jigsaw would always be like, "You spent your whole life playing with other people's lives. Now we play a game for your life." And then he has like this crazy thing attached to their head. The police chief has like a rat cage with a bunch of rats, and I think they eat his face. I think the rated PG-13 thing. Yeah, the rated PG-13 kind of takes away from it.
That's a real thing though, because when rats recognize that they have an advantage over somebody, like that's when they become ravenous like that, and that was like a pretty old school torture method that was used.
See,
they usually go for the eyes and tongue first.
Right, the eyes and tongue. And that, okay, so I'm glad you brought that up, Alex, because I thought that there was a theme that the Riddler was kind of going with, like a see no evil, hear no evil, and speak no evil, because if you remember, the mayor's head was all taped up, and then, like Alex said, when those rats eat you, they go for your eyes. So I thought that was the theme, but that's taken away because we can't see that stuff. It's just implied that rats ate his head. So we see the second clue the Riddler has for Batman, and it insinuates that Batman needs to bring the rat to light. So Batman's like, okay, I gotta find this rat, and I have to, hopefully this will lead me closer to the Riddler. We then fast forward to him going to the funeral, I think, for the mayor.
Yeah.
Is that the next scene?
Mayor's funeral.
Next major scene, yeah.
Which it's funny because everyone's like, Bruce Wayne? Is that Bruce Wayne?
Yeah. I mean, it's his first time outside in like seemingly years.
And then we also get a really cool little backdrop, which comes from The Long Halloween, that Thomas Wayne, Bruce Wayne's dad, who was a doctor, saved Falcone's life back when him and the Maroni family were shooting it out. Yeah. And so it brings into question, like, is Thomas, was he affiliated? Like, what's going on here?
Was he a bad guy?
Yeah, exactly. Which isn't the first plot line that's been a case with.
Right. And then we get inside the memorial service, and there's that dude, grungy looking dude, who's complaining about rich people, and then not realizing he's talking to Bruce Wayne. And then we get the mayoral candidate, Rial, who is like, hey, Bruce Wayne, been trying to talk to you. You're rich. You should be helping people. Your family help people. Which it explores the idea that, is Batman or Bruce Wayne more effective at helping Gotham?
Yeah. So and so then after this scene, or during this scene, I should say, Batman sees. Batman is there at the funeral. By the way, I don't think we mentioned this because he's looking for the Riddler. It's a common thought process that a serial killer will go to the funeral of his victims because they like to see what effect that they've had on a situation or people's lives. He sees what he thinks may be the Riddler, but before he can really do anything, a car literally just smashes right through the middle of the service. And Batman sees the mayor's son, jumps in front of the mayor's son to take him out of the danger. And out of the car is the DA strapped to a bomb.
This is where he has the collar bomb tied to his neck.
Collar bomb tied to his neck and a phone. And so Bruce Wayne, being like, oh, I have to go do a Superman change real quick in a phone booth. He leaves and comes back as Batman because the DA has a letter for Batman on his chest. The building obviously is cleared out because they think it's a bomb.
And the phone in hand is ringing.
It's ringing.
The first time it rings, people freak out, which I kind of laughed a little bit.
I laughed again. I laughed. No one else laughed. I thought it was funny. But yes, he answers the phone, and you can see that the Riddler is basically showing Batman why this person is the next to be his victim, and we learn that the DA has been paid to
hush money.
The DA has been paid, hush money to look the other way. And
it's being live streamed too.
And he gets him to finally admit how much he was only charging. It was only like $10,000, which
right,
wasn't that much.
Right. So he the DA obviously fails to play the game the way that the Riddler wants and has his head blown off. Again, PG-13. We don't actually see any of that. Just Batman go boom, boom. Batman gets into like a light coma. I think this was. He kind of blacks out.
Yeah.
And basically, when he comes to, the Gotham PD is around him, and he has this tense scene where they're trying to like unmask him and stuff like that. And Jim Gordon kind of helps him out and says, "Okay, let's break some space and let me talk to him." He helps Batman escape in this really cool. I thought it was a cool escape scene. Batman
when he gets up on the rooftop.
Yeah,
too.
he gets to the rooftop.
From the roof.
Yeah,
I thought that was the worst scene. That was the worst.
Wait, why didn't you like that?
Yeah, why didn't you like it?
I thought it was cheesy as ever. The little suit that he had, and then
that's
flying.
What those look like.
Okay, that goes into the low tech thing that we were talking about earlier. That like this isn't the Batman who just jumps off with a cape. Like you can tell that he's afraid of heights in the scene.
Yeah, I love that.
You can tell that he's not coordinated because like in like past Batman movies, this dude would just jump off from a 50-story building with his cape, which makes no sense, and then gracefully land somewhere. Like I felt like that was more realistic.
I love that he just eats it in this one.
Yeah.
He eats it, but what I think is crazy is how it's like, I mean, this man is, even though he has his suit on, by this point in the movie, he's already gotten beat up a few times and fighting, and he gets the bomb at the funeral. He lands like this. I mean, this man should have been out for the next week just recovering after that landing, because you're right, he tumbles so badly, which also I thought looked like the worst CGI ever. I mean, like when he hits that underpass and the bus and the car and then tumbles, I thought that looked like it was from a bad video game. I was like, this is horrible. I was laughing. I was like, this is cheesy. But I mean, I agree. It's realistic in how he falls, but it's not realistic to me the way that they made him fall to make us like, oh, that looks realistic.
That's fair.
If it's realistic, I'm like, this man's gonna be in a hospital. Like this would be the thing that I think puts him out on bed rest for a few days. And just another spoiler, by the end of this movie, we find out that the course of the whole movie takes place over only about 6-7 days.
A couple of days, like a week. Like, yeah,
so,
exactly.
I don't know. I feel like they could have kept him low tech, but found a better way for him to fall. Or I almost would have rather him just have a slightly more graceful fall that's not as believable, but not as bad as this.
I think these scenes didn't need to be in, like, this whole sequence after the funeral didn't need to be in the movie, in my personal opinion. I just felt like that was unnecessary. But he uses the clues that he gets at this point to, I believe, go to the orphanage, the old I think it's an Arkham orphanage, I want to say. And there, the Riddler has this revelation for him that his father.
Well, actually, sorry, it's like right before that. It was Batman and Gordon. They figure out the informant may be the Penguin, and they track him to a drug deal.
Oh, yes, that's true. Yes.
Yeah, I forgot about that quick, because it's kind of a quick scene.
It happens really fast. Yeah, it happens really fast. They think that the Penguin is the rat, so they track him down. Selina's already there. She's trying to steal money from the Penguin. They find the Russian girl's body.
Yeah, the Penguin runs away.
And so there is this really cool
Batman. Yeah, you can explain this scene.
Oh yeah, I love that. I love this moment in the movie with the Batmobile, because it was awesome when Batman chases down the Penguin. I thought that was a really cool scene. Chases him through the streets of Gotham, and they him and Gordon kind of corner him and interrogate him, and they come to realize that he not only is he not the rat, but they read the riddle wrong, and so Batman realizes that the riddle was actually a link to a URL. The URL, the Riddler gives him another hint to go to an orphanage. And it's at this point that Batman comes to the revelation at the orphanage that his father may have had secrets that he wasn't aware about, right? I think at the same time, the Riddler sent a mail bomb to Bruce Wayne's house, and Alfred is like in the hospital, fighting for his life. Any thoughts on these scenes?
Well, when Alfred does end up coming to, this is at the time too that we find out that Bruce is now aware that his dad was doing kind of dirty with the mob when his dad was running for mayor. I thought it was a little lame that Alfred wakes up and he doesn't even give him a smile. He's just instantly like, you knew my dad was doing bad stuff.
Okay. See, you say lame, but I feel like this is symbolic of the kind of the theme of the movie. That this is a selfish Batman. This is a selfish Batman who only does things like, if you want to really get like, into the psychosis of Batman, he's only solving these crimes because there is hints. He thinks that the Riddler knows who Bruce Wayne is. And that's why, I'll get into that a little bit later, but my theory is that like, that was the underlying motive for why he was even involved in the crime in the first place, because he was afraid someone knew who he was.
See, I unfortunately missed a good portion of the scene because I had to pee so badly that I ran. I ran from my seat as fast as I could,
pee break.
and then my friend like described the scene to me, and then it just got to Alfred in the hospital. But I was just like, I ran and peed as quickly as I could. This is a huge theater, and it was a challenge. I was like, they needed to have a pee break.
You should have like a racehorse and just gone in your pants.
Oh, I did. I tried to time it too because I was like, this looks like a scene where like nothing is going to happen, and then of course something huge happens. It could have just been him walking around staring at shadows or something.
Yeah, I agree. Like Batman, like Bruce Wayne, like he is very selfish in this movie. He's doing this. I don't know about like the whole identity thing. Like very strong possibility. But my take was like he's angry that his parents were killed, reasonably so. And he's mad at himself for not being able to do anything about it. And so he's kind of like casting that on everybody else, where he's like, I'm going to stop and hurt all these bad people because I'm hurt. And now they get to hurt as well.
And even deeper than that, he looks at what his father did as an ineffective way to help Gotham. So he's like, this is how I can help Gotham, by fighting crime. And so, when Alfred and Bruce have this revelation, Alfred explains to him, it's like, listen, your father did something wrong for the right reasons and was taken advantage of, but it doesn't make him a bad person. And, they kind of have their reconciliation, and Bruce kind of admits that he also loves Alfred like a father, even though he's not really his dad. And it's this great moment. So now with a new resolution, and also new hints, I believe, he realizes that I believe the next scene was that they see the bat signal. And so he's like, I got to get back to work. And he leaves, and Jim Gordon meets him at their location, which, as a quick side note, I thought it was really funny that they both met each other in essentially the lobby. So I'm like, so Batman takes the stairs? I thought that was really weird. But anyways, but they meet at the building, they get up top, and they see that Selina is up there with one of the dirty cops from the club, and she's about to shoot the dude over the edge. She's like, hey, he had my phone. They listen to the voicemail, and you can hear that Falcone killed Annika because Annika knew a little bit too much. And so they interrogate. And also, I don't know if we mentioned this, but Falcone is Selina's dad, if you couldn't tell.
That's a nod to The Long Halloween. Where
is it? Okay.
Because she's obsessed with him in this and in The Long Halloween, and you find out it's because like that's her dad, but he like never like owned up to her being his kid. And like, she's struggled her whole life while her dad's essentially the most powerful man in the city.
Powerful man. Well, I was going to bring that up. Yeah, I was going to bring that because the cop that they have over the edge tells Batman and Jim that Falcone has used the money that was supposed to be allocated from Bruce Wayne's father. He had, when he was running for mayor, he had this whole renewal project thing, and basically Falcone blackmailed and then stole that money to then essentially implement his own mayor, police chief, whatever. So the cop is saying, is like, no matter what you do to me or Falcone or whatever, nothing's going to change. He owns the cops. He owns the legal system. There's nothing that can be done. So Selina's like, I got one thing that can be done. And she steals a gun, which I thought that was the way that scene, they showed how she stole the gun. I thought that was really clever. She steals a gun. She's like, I'm going to pull a bullet in this guy and he won't come back. And so Batman's like, don't do it. She has this really funny line. She's like, he says something along the lines of like, once you cross that line, you can't get your life back. And she's like, I got 9 lives. And she pieces out. And I thought that was a funny scene.
Yeah, it was pretty great.
So then it's the race to the club. And Selina, is trying to confront her father. But before she can actually do the confrontation, I believe Jim Gordon released the audio of him killing the Russian lady. And so he realized, like, okay, now people know, like, I'm a bigger threat than I was perceived to be. And there's this whole conflict where then Batman is trying to rescue Selina. And so he goes into the club as Bruce Wayne instead of as Batman, which I thought was a really clever thing to do, even though the movie didn't really give much thought to it. But it was one of those things where that's the first time we see him in this movie do something selfless.
He goes through it with violence the first time, right?
Yes.
And then he goes in as Bruce Wayne.
Goes in as Bruce Wayne because, and that I think that's supposed to be like a nod to like, you know what? What's more important to him is saving Selina and not being Batman, not being selfish.
That was earlier when he finds out that his dad might have been dirty because of Falcone. Because in the third time he goes in, he's wearing like his urban outfitter.
So he goes violence, Bruce Wayne, and then just sneaks.
Yeah, just sneaks in. So
he cuts the power, then shoots up and then saves Selina because she's holding her own for a while, but then Falcone gets the jump on her. He's choking her out, and then Batman comes in to save her.
Cole cocks him in the head. And then from there, the movie takes a really dark turn. Batman brings Falcone outside to the police, and boom, man is sniped. And Batman then puts it together what the riddle about bringing the rat to light. And you'll find me. He looks up and sees like JFK getting shot style, just like sees him in the building. He crosses the street, goes up these flights of stairs, and they find the Riddler's dead. The man was across the street the whole time, which I will just want to point out, Batman should have known this when they saw the pictures in the car. He should have put that together. Some detective, but whatever.
It lends to the fact like he's new at this. Like he is smart, but he's cocky and he's not.
Yeah, he's cocky. Yeah, because that would have been the first thing I would have done. I would have gone to where those pictures were taken, and I would have been like, "Where could this have been taken from?" That would have messed up all of Riddler's plans.
Yeah, and then they end up finding the Riddler. He's in that cafe. They arrest him, and then there's that scene at Arkham where the Riddler basically just spills his guts. He's like, "You and I, we're teammates. Like we're doing this together, cleaning the city out." Batman's like, "What are you talking about?" Right. And then this is where I think AJ, you kept saying how the Riddler seems to know who Batman might be.
Yes, and that's what I was saying earlier, where like the Riddler is saying, the only person I wasn't able to get was Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne has lived his whole life basically hiding from society, not doing what he could do to help people, and we're supposed to feel sorry for him. But me, someone who's had to go through these hard traumas and had basically the same kind of life, there's no pity for me. And so the reason why I have my theory was that like, this is the moment where Batman realizes that he can't keep doing this for himself, is when he realizes that he doesn't know he didn't correlate Bruce Wayne and Batman. And then I think there was this like almost like a wave of relief and then resolution, because then the Riddler is like, well, you don't get the plan. I was trying to keep you safe, but since you want to die, the bombs are going, or he doesn't say bombs, but he insinuates something bad's going to happen. Bruce Wayne goes back to the apartment, finds out the Riddler had put bombs all around Gotham and is flooding it. Mm-hmm. And so he has this plan where basically calls the flooding to push everyone to the stadium that's in the center. And then he, through his online following, his
can I bring up, I think it's hilarious that like, he's like this creepy incel that's like obsessed with his online following, and you expect it to be like really big, and it's only like 500 followers. Like he doesn't have a big fan base.
I laughed at the same thing.
I was like, what a loser. He doesn't.
The comments on the side were so funny. They're like, "We got you, man. Yeah, we've got your back. We're gonna be with you." And I'm like, "This is so
look at these nerds."
But like, it was so realistic. It was like scary. It's like, this is what those kinds of people do.
The writers, whoever came up with that idea, made it feel something like real world, you know,
a little bit too close to home.
Like the insurrection in January 6th of last year, where it's kind of like these people online are all like, let's storm the Capitol. And then they did it. And it's like,
you gotta get them.
Yeah, so it was a little, it hit close to home.
It did, so but I just love, like, I would have hated if he had like 1 million followers out of nowhere.
No, I agree with you. I definitely laughed when he said 500. I'm like, 500? All that? Yeah. That's all you got? So his 500 followers, which also to note, not all 500 showed up.
Of
maybe
course,
20.
Well, that's how those people are. They talk big and then they don't. Thankfully,
it's even more accurate.
Yeah, maybe 20 of them. So their plan was to shoot the now mayor, I can't remember her name.
Real.
To shoot her and anyone else in the arena while it's being flooded. Essentially like a crab in a barrel situation. Really messed up, really dark and twisted. But now Batman with fervor and new resolution, he shows up a little bit too late. The mayor did get shot, which I thought was
I thought was stupid.
I did laugh. I'm not going to lie. I did laugh. I'm like, well, I mean, what do we need Batman for now? She's already shot.
Also, she gets shot like in the kind of collarbone area. And Falcone also gets shot like in the collarbone, but dies like instantly. He gets shot and it's like, eyes closed, I am dead.
I know.
Bella gets shot. She's like survives the whole thing. She's watching the floods come in. Like
she's wading through water. I'm like, this wound is going to get infected.
That scene was honestly kind of dumb though, because she's also like, you know, she's like, I have to stand up and basically like be the leader of the city, which is great. But then she just goes with like not even trying to sneak out or anything, makes an announcement for like a second, and then I'm just like, that's exactly what you knew was going to happen. So like, what
that's how you know. That's how you know this show had white writers, because no black woman in her right mind would be like, let me go stand up here and put my life in extreme danger for no reason. Okay, I'm telling you that right now. She would have been like, get my car, we out. We are out of here.
I mean, the whole place was already flooding. There was madness. Exactly. And she was trying to talk. She was like, everyone listen. No one's listening to you right now. Yeah, it was a little ridiculous.
No black woman would do that. But yes, Batman shows up and I laughed because the bombs have gone off. The city's already flooding. The mayor's been shot. So I'm like, man, Batman really sucks at this. Like, he's really bad at this. But he shows up and he stops the rest of the insurgency that's happening here. He takes them out. One of them cheap shots him with a double barrel shotgun.
Yeah,
that was pretty intense. And he's he's in a lot of pain. Selina comes and she saves him. And it's this really cool scene where, she kisses him. And I think it wasn't meant to show that they're in love, but just to show that he's not alone, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, there's a connection there.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's not the only one who struggles with stuff. And so Batman, the last insurgent grabs Selina, is about to choke her out again for the second time. She's having a rough day. And then Batman pulls out some green juice, which I thought was adrenaline. But can I tell you another theory?
I think I
think it's what's Venom. It called? The chaos venom that Bane uses. Yeah.
Yeah, so, it kind of gave me a similarity to that.
Yeah, because it was green, and like in the comic books, like that I do know that Bane is like basically jacked up with that stuff.
He gets angry.
He gets angry. He goes berserk. He goes berserk and almost kills the insurgent.
Which shows to me that someone's gonna find that juice.
Exactly.
At some
point. Yeah. I think so too.
That guy turns out to be the one who talked to Bruce Wayne at the funeral.
Yes, at the funeral.
And you are so miserable. You chose to do this.
Well, and this was like supposed to be like the titular point in the moment, the last revelation for Batman, when the guy says, when Jim Gordon asks him, "Who are you?" And he says, "I'm Vengeance." Batman then realizes, he's like, "Oh wow, the line between insanity is very thin for me." And so he, the movie at this point, I kind of felt like we could have done without these scenes. Electricity and an electric wire is dangling over the stadium. For no sane reason, Batman jumps on this live wire and cuts it, which should have killed him. But to be quite honest with you, I don't think that suit's rubber. So,
Batman, but like, awesome.
How can the suit deflect bullets and electricity? Pick one. But anyways,
I was okay with it just because it looked so epic.
It looked cool, yeah. And then we get the symbolic scene of him leading the people of Gotham out of the stadium, and it's supposed to show that he's no longer interested in being this hidden protector. That he realizes that if he wants to change the city, he has to be the change he wants to see, right?
Yeah, and it was significant because he's using a flare.
He's using a flare.
He says, like, I am the shadows, like I own the shadows.
Right, he's coming into the light.
It ends with him like bringing light, and then at the end, like he's working in the light.
Right.
And then we get that little quick hop over to Arkham for that interesting scene.
Boo! Joker and Riddler become. I mean that was like sitcom levels of awkward. They're just like, "Hey, buddy, are you a villain? Yeah, I'm a villain. Let's be villains together." I was like, "Ah, gross."
One cool thing though is, do you know who the actor was for the Joker?
No, I was trying to find out who that is. Who is
Barry Cohen? He played Druig in Eternals in George and Dunkirk.
Oh,
he was the guy in Eternals that could like control people.
Is he going to be in the movies, or did they just use his?
At some point, Matt Reeves said he is the Joker. He might be in the next movie. He might be in a different movie. He's like, I don't know, but he's there.
Okay.
So yeah, that was like the one of the few moments where I was like, oh yeah, this is a superhero movie, because they had that like hint and tease that.
I didn't like.
In the moment, I was hyped, but then afterwards, I was like, it kind of took away from the momentum. Because then after that we get the whole Batman's carrying somebody to the rooftop. The sun is rising. Again, he's working in the light and helping to save people. And this whole thing was taken from Batman Year Zero, where again the Riddler floods Gotham and turns it into like a wasteland of crime.
I didn't know that. It's cool.
Yeah,
I didn't know that either.
I do have to say though, as far as like villain plots go, like I like the Riddler's plot, not the motives, but it was very thorough and it worked. Everything that he did worked. The only reason why his plot didn't work, when you think about it, is that he missed one target, Bruce Wayne. Yeah. I mean, when it comes down to it, like that's the only reason why his plot didn't work. Although it does have to be noted that if he did kill Bruce Wayne, then he wouldn't have been able to kill Falcone, and he would have been very confused where Batman went.
True. Yeah.
So, guys, final thoughts. What do you guys think about the?
I wanted to also mention the final scene where Selina is like leaving to Bloodhaven, and like kind of doesn't she ask Batman to go with?
And he says no.
So that reminded me of Batman Hush, which in this case, at the end of Hush, Selina's basically like, I don't want to do this anymore, and she's like, Bruce, you don't need to do this anymore, and like she asks him to leave, and then like I believe the bat signal goes off. And then he decides to abandon and stay in Gotham, and then she takes off on the motorcycle. And like, I thought that was like such a cool ending, because it just kind of shows it's like, damn, Batman is never going to get relationships right, and he's always going to be like obsessed with Gotham. Like,
there were two things. Okay,
I love that ending.
I did laugh at the ending because it reminded me of Fast and Furious 7 with Paul Walker and Paul Walker and Vin Diesel are driving off into the sunset. I couldn't get the song out of my head, but also
it was pretty cheesy.
Yeah,
I liked it.
I just thought it was funny. I'm like, what is this? What are they doing? Is it a cat and mouse thing or cat and bat? I don't know.
Also, Batman Hush is like one of my favorites, so I think that's why I saw it and instantly connected it.
But also, I could have done without the Casablanca. We'll always have Paris thing. Like I'm good. Like that's they could have again. That's when we get into our final thoughts, I'll just mention it. But like that's a scene that like we probably could have done without. You already said what you had to said prior. You didn't have to show that.
Yeah. And also the whole I'm leaving, but I get this vibe. Just I know if there's a sequel movie or another movie, she's gonna come back. She's coming back. Don't give me this goodbye. That's not a real goodbye.
What would have been so much more impactful is Batman showing up to her apartment and she was gone. That would have been so much more.
I don't know. I like the motorcycle. I like the motorcycle scene. I would have changed it.
Well, and the other thing is Bloodhaven is it's like Gotham's sister city.
It's where Nightwing
right. The first Robin, Dick Grayson. It's where when he grows up to be Nightwing, that's kind of where he is.
So there could be a Nightwing time at some point.
Yeah,
but I feel like Batman is too young for that. Like this Batman that we have is pretty young. So I don't know if he's in the mentor stage yet.
We'll see.
He does have a Nightwing.
He's not. Dude,
you know what I mean?
Like
that's what I'm saying. Like if he did have a mentor, what would be like 7? Like a 7-year-old? Like what do you call those? Like not a
Protege?
steward. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, that'd be weird.
Right.
Yeah, like
Ward.
Ward. Thank you.
Yeah.
A 7-year-old Theon Greyjoy walking around his house, like that'd be pretty weird. I don't think this Batman's old enough for that.
He's not. Well, I mean, dude. If that woman asked you to go with her, you said no. Like there's something wrong with you. He needs help.
He needs help. He needs a therapy. He needs a good therapy session.
Yeah.
But yeah, final thoughts, guys.
I liked it. I thought it was a great detective story of Batman. I thought we got to see him as this grungy, gross, awkward, broken emo kid who definitely needs therapy. We saw the nuance in Catwoman of she's not a bad person, but because of her desperate situation, she has to do sometimes bad things. The dynamic with Jim Gordon was super cool, very Year One-esque, showing how influential he is. The different take with Alfred. Overall, I really enjoyed this take on Batman.
Yeah, this wasn't a perfect film for me, but I think it was my favorite Batman I've seen in recent years, and I think I like it honestly just as much as the Christopher Nolan era Batman. I just think it's like the angsty loser sad boy Batman that I've always wanted, and it reminded me a lot of like the Telltale Games Batman.
Yeah.
I don't know, I saw so many similarities. It was cheesy, but like in a dark and fun way, and like I loved it. Like I honestly was a little nervous going into this, but I'd give it like a 1.5 thumbs out of 2 thumbs.
Ooh, that's some good thumbs.
Yeah, 1.5 thumbs.
Kate, why didn't you like it?
I think what I didn't like was, and again, you could say maybe I'm being too nitpicky, but I just felt so many moments were really cheesy or cringy. I didn't like that. I felt like Batman and Gordon were also talking like too many octaves lower than their natural voice, that it made me just feel like, why are you guys like, it just sounded ridiculous to me. Like every time they talked, it was like that unnecessary deepness. And I was like, okay, like, and then
projecting
also
masculinity.
It just was a little too much. Like I said, there was moments that just felt cheesy. I felt like also the chase scene with the Penguin was completely pointless because they get him, they tie him up, he teaches them that they're saying Spanish wrong, and then next thing you know, we see him again free and clear at the Iceberg Lounge, and he's like, "Hey, Bruce, how's it going?"
Hey,
Bruce is Bruce, and I'm like,
remember that dead body you found in a car?
But also, I'm like, weren't you tied up? And like, also, how has no one figured out yet that Batman is Bruce Wayne and Bruce Wayne is Batman? And even the scene too, when they find the Riddler's apartment, he has on the wall is Batman Bruce Wayne, and has like a picture of Bruce Wayne, and Bruce is standing, Batman's
and everyone
looking
just kind
at
of
it.
ignores
all
it.
the cops are milling around. One person looked up and went,
I will say this, Kate, to that point, 2 things. You have to remember, in this world, people don't even know what he looks like. People don't know what Bruce Wayne looks like. Like when he's at the funeral, nobody knows he's there until somebody has to point out, oh, that's Bruce Wayne, right? Mm-hmm. That's one thing. And the second thing is you're supposed to believe that the Riddler is insane. So those are just ramblings of a madman to anybody else who isn't Batman. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, Kate, the man had rats and a bat in his. But you know what I mean? Like, you're also saying that, like, yeah, we should take this guy seriously. There's rat poop in here and there's guano and rat poop in the same room. I'm not going to listen to the writings of a madman on a wall.
I don't know.
I mean? That's
I think
the
they would
point.
still research it, though.
It was a little,
I don't know.
Well, even when Batman's like alone with the one cop back at the apartment, even that guy, come on, like, look at it. Because even that guy, remember at the very beginning of the movie, he's like, ugh, Batman. And then at the funeral, he's like, hey, Batman, how's it going, pal? And like, he's like, hey, Bruce. And like, it's just so, I think people do know Bruce. Because remember the twins at the nightclub, they also were like, oh, it's Bruce Wayne. Like,
but the criminals knew Bruce Wayne, which is the irony.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
well, I would say that overall, I can understand where you're coming from. I watched this twice. The first time, I wasn't too hot on the movie. I'll be quite honest with you. The conditions I watched it under were rough. I watched it at a drive-in theater, so everything was pitch black, and so I had to listen to the movie. So it wasn't a strong buy-in for me. When I watched it the second time, I think I was just able to appreciate that, like, thematically, this is just a different Batman, right? I like the Christopher Nolan Batmans, And personally, I think that that the Dark Knight Rises is the better of the trilogy. It's just as a Batman movie, I'm just saying, if you want to fight me, fight me. But the Dark Knight is not a Batman movie. It's a Joker movie that just happens to have Batman in it. So I think that this one does a really good job of telling a Batman story. And so I feel like I can understand a jaded person who's grown up rich. What is like one of the most common tropes of a rich person, right? That they hate the fact that they're rich, that they resent that they have more than other people, and that they do. I think so. I think someone who's born into wealth, they can often be guilted into being rich, and like sometimes you see those people, either enter philanthropy, or sometimes they will try to live out or pretend that they're not as well off as that's where the detachment comes off of.
Rich.
Some of those
they can love being rich, but I don't think Batman loves being rich. That's the point I'm trying to make. He doesn't love that. He resents it to a degree, to the point where he's like, you can argue that his Batmaning is a form of suicide. He's trying to get himself killed. He doesn't have a reason to live, and we're seeing that at the end of the movie, through Alfred, through Selina, through just the city of Gotham, he realizes that he has a lot of reasons to live.
So it sounds like your second viewing made you like it more than the first.
It made me like it more than the first time. I think the first time, like anything that's a reboot or a rehash, I think it's just like, it's so hard to buy in to a story that we know so many aspects of. And so you're expecting a new take to blow your mind. And I just don't always feel like that's fair. I felt like this movie was really simple. I felt like this movie was really direct. And so I just kind of feel like, it was a good movie. It wasn't the best movie, but at the same time, we've watched a lot of bad movies over the past year. I feel like this was good. I think
it was a great Batman for me.
It was
the type of Batman I wanted to watch.
Yeah, exactly. I would give it. I think I would also give it a thumb and a half. We gotta work out this rating system. But
we do.
A thumb and a half equals 8 stars, or 8 stars out of 10.
Kathy, how many thumbs did you do?
I have one thumb that's fully down, and I have another thumb that's kind of at a down but 45-degree angle.
Oh,
that's a hate. That's a hate. Ooh, wow.
It's maybe it's like a down and it's wavering between a 90-degree and a 45 angle.
Hey, I get it, because my wife, I could not get her to come back to watch the movie with me. She was like, "Nah, man, I'm good."
What?
It's not for everybody.
I do two Catwoman's thumbs with those long nails up.
Yeah, those long
nails. Her nails were good. They did a good job.
Mine's one Catwoman thumb and then half of a Riddler thumb drive thumb.
Oh, that's a good one.
And we want to know how many thumbs our fans are thinking.
And
please keep all your thumbs.
Let us know how many thumb drive thumbs up or down you gave it. That's it for this episode. If you liked what you heard, let us know. Comment, subscribe, like, share, do all that good stuff. You can find us on any social media, Facebook, Instagram. We're not on TikTok yet. Maybe one day. Share this episode with your friends. You can listen anywhere where you find your other favorite shows, because I know we're in your top 10. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you in the next one.
Bandwagon is hosted by Josh Jimenez, Alex Melgosa, and me, AJ Soy. Our show is produced by Kate Smith and edited by yours truly. Our theme song is Lush Waves by Taylor Lewin of _audio. Thanks for listening. We'll see you soon.